Bava Kama, what an amazing morning we're all going to have today. Bava Kama, Vava Mudalef. Yeah. Do I sound like a radio presenter? Okay, Vava Mudalef, a bit above the middle of the page, we have to do a little bit of Chazara. We have basically defined the four Avos Nezikin, and now we are looking to make combinations. We're looking now to do some mixing and matching. In other words, the Mishnah at the end said that just like these four Nezikim are Nezikim, so too you have a broader definition of all things that are owned by a person and damage to another person or another object, and therefore the person, it's his responsibility and he has to pay from the best of the best. The question is, what are those other things? Yeah, they're not direct tolados of the Avos, they're combinations of two Avos. Yeah, they're not pure race. Yeah, they're a mixture. Yeah, they're a mixed breed. That's the word. Thank you. The mixed breed. Okay, so we gave one example. If one, let's say, had his, whatchamacallit, we said a person had something heavy and dangerous that he left. Yeah, he left uncarefully, irresponsibly, he left it on his roof, and then it fell. And then after it fell into Rishut Rabbi, it damaged someone. That's a combination of what? Of Aish and bow. It was created with the help of the fire. Had it stayed where I put it, it would have stayed there all its life. Nobody would have been damaged. It's my private property, the roof. Now, the wind took it, which I should have known about, and I am responsible for it, but the wind is involved. If the wind is involved, that's called Aish. Now, but later on, when did it actually do the damage? Not as it was flying. If it would have done the damage as it was, boom, as it was on its way down, it boom, hit someone's head, yeah, then it would be pure. That would be pure breed. That would be pure what? Aish. It's hitting, damaging as it goes along, right? But now, no, it's damaged after it hit the ground. It was on the ground already. It was lying on the ground. And then, boom, someone tripped on it. Then we say it's a combination of Aish. It was created like Aish, but it was damaging like a boar, which is static in the street. That's why it's a combination of bow and Aish. And we need both to tell me about this case, which is a mixture of both. And now we're going to have a few other cases, a few more additional cases of all kinds of mixtures and fusions of different Avos Nezikin. We barely started, and here comes the pin and yell. Okay, now, Rove Omar, Latuye. Line starts with Latuye. Good morning, parents. Line starts with Latuye. Vov Amudalef Bava Kama Latuye. This shows Lunishmas of Imar Menachem and Akiva. Uz Bas Shalom Tila Bas Ben Zion Sel Bas Moshe. Rove says Latuye Bor Hamisgalgel Beragle Odob Uberagle Behemo. This is the sugya which, if we learned Be'iyun, it would take us a long time, but we're not learning Be'iyun. Rove says that Latuye, what this combination, the last line of the Mishnah comes to add, is a combination of bo ha-misgalgel, the rolling boar, the rolling stones, the rolling boar, which was misgalgel beragle odom beragle behema. What is with the feet of the human or the feet of the animals? What does that mean? Explains Rashi. I'm not reading it inside. Rashi says like this: a person left his bow, meaning a person left a stone, let's say, which is dangerous, and it's more than 3 tefachim, and it's a stumbling stone, stumbling block in the middle of the street. And then eventually people, absent-mindedly, as people were walking along, they were like kicking it. Yeah, the question is how they kicked it, Rashi, Toysres, but eventually, as people and animals walk along, this stone found itself in a different place. Inadvertently, the other people, they were like kicking it or like, walking over or like, pushing it to the side a bit as they were walking. And therefore, now the bow that was in Lachish, near Lachish 40, I didn't do it, happens to now find itself near Lachish 34. Okay, a good few meters away because somehow was moved with a traffic of people and animals moving in the street. And that's a combination of two Avos. Why is that? Let's see. Let's see how it works. Frek the Gemara, HD. Heichidami. How is that? Why is that a combination of two things exactly? If the person actually was mafkir the stone, he already disowned the stone, doesn't like the stone anymore, then bein lerav, bein leshmuel, hainu bo. Both Rav and Shmuel agree that something left in the middle of the street and mufkar, not mine anymore. That is a classical tolda of bow. The av of bow is below ground. The tolda of bow is above ground. Did you just hear my sentence? That takes care of like half of Bava Kama. Below ground is an av to dig a bow. If I leave something above the ground, whatever that is, a stone, a bundle, that is a tolda. That's a tolda. Okay? If so, if you left something in the street, that's a bow. Because a bow right from the start, from the second it came into the street, it's pure 100% nezek. There's nothing good about the bow right from the start. It's a mitzias of 100% just nezek, as opposed to a bull, which could be very nice and friendly and useful. And it's your responsibility to guard it. Haninami, those items too, be it the bundle, the stone, the sticks, the whatever, the wires, or what the area does, they leave trees in the middle of the street. No, when they cut the trees, they leave them there for like 3 days. Yeah, if we would have done it, come on YouTube. Haninami. So those above ground things, those 3D things, the bundle also, it's there right from the second that it came into the street. It's potentially mazik every second. It didn't like start good and shmi also alecho. In other words, it shares the same qualities of the bow. So it's not a combination, it's just bow. Must be, we're talking about a stone, let's say, which the person still wants to keep. He put a stone in the middle of the street and he has in mind, he wants to take it back. He wants to take the stone to use it as some nice stone in his house.
Stone can hold the akala. Very useful.
A stone can be used for all kinds of things, right? He doesn't throw it on anybody.
On the side of the street.
Here. Okay, I hear. Now, if he was not mafkirit, then Rav says it's not a tolda of bow. Rav sees hefker as an intrinsic thing of bow. But Shmuel, according to Shmuel, the Omar, kulam lamadnu. According to Shmuel, it doesn't make a difference whether you own it or not. Your ownership doesn't make a difference. Interest my grandmother, as we say in Hebrew. As long as it's your nezek, whether mafkir, not mafkir, it's bow. If so, hainu bow. Then again, the question arises, this is just pure bow. This is the brainchild. This is the outcome derivative of bow. Why is calling it a combination? Which combination? Combination lock? What? Answers the Gemara. Yes, he was mafkir the stone. But it's not exactly like a bow. Why not? A bow, mass of go muloi. A bow, mass of go muloi means that when I place the bow in one place and people tripped in the very same place, I am 100% responsible to what was done. If I left my, some kind of garbage thing, which people can trip over outside Lachish 40, where I live, and people tripped on it right there, I am 100% responsible. However, Toimer Behani, you may say differently in this case, where people moved it from place X to Y, to Lachish 32, She'en Masav Go Muloi. My Maisim are not exactly Golem alone. I'm not the exclusive cause of the damage. Because it was in number 40, now somebody else, or a lot of somebody else's, they moved it to a different place, a different location. So Lamaisa, where the person was hit, was stripped over there, is not really the place where I located it. You can say that I'm irresponsible, I'm nasty, don't give me a shidduch with your daughter, fine. But Lamaisa, it wasn't 100% me that caused it. Maybe I would have taken it back home, and then I sort of lost control, got out of control. I would have controlled it near my house. I'm just saying, but I'm not the only sole responsible for the thing. Other people also managed to get it to a different place. So maybe a potter. It's not pure bow anymore, because bow is always located in the same place. Bow is dug. The dug boar can never move places, right? Answers the Gemara. Who's the partner here? So which other Av Melocha do you have to help us to make sure that he is chayev? Shor yochiach. Interesting. A shor is always a catch-all. A shor, like Rav said, when it comes to other things, to water, shor yochiach, meaning a shor is an animal, and I did not make the animal gore. I didn't make the animal step. The shor works with its own mind. So to here, the boar, he works with his own mind too. You may ask a question. In other words, this boar is not exclusively my doings. neither is the shol, or really Aish, or most Av Malachos, shol is the most classical one. I didn't take the shore's horns and hit anybody. It's not my Maisa. I was walking with the shore so nicely in the street, whistling all the way to the shop, and the shore went crazy all of a sudden. It's also not my doings, right? So maybe here the boar, even though it's not exclusively mine, then I'm still chayiv. We're going to talk soon about the other people. That will be discussed later. Now the Gemara concludes and goes now to the other direction. Hey, wait. Shol cannot be the sole father of this bo hamizgalgel, of the rolling boar, because shol is an animal that moves around, and the bow normally doesn't move around. Bow doesn't move around all the time. He was kicked to another place, but it's not like an animal that keeps going all the time, right? Bo tochiach, a bow will prove it. A bow is also an animate. Get it? Like always, we have two avos, and together between them, each one has one quality. Between the two qualities, we get the child. It's a father, mother, and a child. That's what I would call it. The father brings one thing, the mother the other thing. Here's a child. We have one av called a bow, which means what? A bow is something which is static. Like this was doing the nezek while it was static. On the other hand, I didn't dig it like a bow. It's more like a shore that moved by itself. So too the bow moved by itself to get to that point. So between them, Mazel Tov, Bo Mizgalgel, Chozar Adin, Lo Re'ize Kerize. Neither of one is the sole one, is the only one, but between them, Lo Re'ize Kerize. Each one is different reflection, different kind of idea, and at the end of the day, between the two avos, we have the Bo Mizgalgel. Now, you may ask a question, why the people are not chayiv, the people that kicked it. So really, Teichtal says that could be that if the person kicked it, and as he was kicking it, it hit someone, then he's chayiv. Let's say I walk down the street and I'm saying, shucks, again this guy left the stone over here. And I kick the stone to another side of the street because it's bothering me to my trajectory, and then it hits someone else, then he's chayiv. Why? But that's a different story. That's nezek beyodayim. It's called koichoi, his own power. The Rimi Gash says also, the Rimi Gash, I saw yesterday, he says that when a person, the new people didn't really cause any new damage, which means the boar would have damaged people by Lachish 40, they just moved it to Lachish 32, they didn't really do anything new, mitzidam, because it would have damaged anyways. We're going to see later that sometimes boar can have two partners, like one digging 9 and the other one 10, they're both chayiv, or the last one is chayiv. But let's say there's a galal. Somebody opened up, there was like a dormant thing in the floor, and he made it mazik more. Here, there was no more nezek, it's just a different location. It was by 40, and he kicked it to 32. Maybe he's not a good citizen, he should have put it on the side. But Lamaise didn't cause more damage, the second guy. So the second guy, meaning the one who kicked it, even if he did it on purpose, he's not chayiv because he didn't really create any new reality. On the other hand, there would be a havamina to say that the first guy is potter, because the first guy, for him, he could say, it's not my location, it's a different location, and that's why I need bow and shot together to tell me the bow that started in X and ended up in Y, and X plus 4 meters, that place too is chayiv on it, and that's from bow and shot. Peanut gallery questions, and then we continue. Let's continue after a round of questions to the next case. Rav Ada bar Ava Omar. Rav Ada bar Ava suggests a different kind of combination between the two of us. Latuye means to include, to bring in. This comes to include the following case. The Tanya. Kol elu she'omu, all these things, which things? Poiskin bivoisehen, v'golfin ma'aroisehen, which means, poiskin bivoisehen, what's biyuv? The sewage, the sewer. So let's say a person, poiskin is like poteach. A person opens his sewage from his garden into the street, and all the sewage goes into the street. Very nice. The golfin now is saying basically the golf is to rake, not rake in, but rake out your irui, your sponge water. The dirty water of the sponge, you rake it out into the street. Your sewage is now flowing all the way, boom, into the street. So nice. In the summer, you have no permission, to do such a thing. Says Rashi, in the summer, the streets are nice and dry and clean. There are no puddles and no mud. And therefore, we say you have no permission to do that, to make the street dirty. But in the Vintner, yesh lehem reshus. In the times of rain, you have permission to actually have your own whatever liquidy dirt or dirty liquids to go into the street. The street is anyhow muddy. There were no pavements in the olden days, like in Africa today. Yeah, there are no pavements and there are no roads. Everything is anyhow muddy and yucky and puddly. So what you do doesn't make that much of a difference. However, even though in the winter you have permission to do it, if we can clearly see that the puddle that you created, you now took that, the street, it was a wintry day, but not full of puddles, and now your puddle with your garbage, with your sewage, someone fell on it, or it created nezek somehow, you have to pay. And that is a combination of two Avos. Says the Gemara, what? Why is it a combination? What's the story? If as they were going, as the sewage was traveling into the street, it was splashing into the street, and as he was splashing into the street, the person actually took the sponge stick and basically splashed it into the street, and as he was splashing, it hit someone's white suit and destroyed it, and it's a Gucci schmucci, and now he has to pay $5,000 for the white suit because it's full of mud. If so, that is not a combination of nishtadoni. What are you talking about? It's mamish and nezek bidei odom. It's a koach. It's the power of the person. That motion of shrach, let's say like the daughter of Haman, straight on the head, that's koichoi, that's a nezik beyodayim of a person, and he has to pay 5 different nezikin, or maybe 5 nezikin, the teshlumin. What's the combination? It's just human against human, clear. Ela boso denayach. Elamai, again, you're going to tell me that it rested, rest assured. The water was already resting there. The sewage or the sponja or bas homon, whatever they have, the water is lying as a puddle on the street. And then someone came and slipped into it and hurt, let's say, or the animal. An animal came in and died. Echidami, what's the story? Again, isn't that simple? Oh, it's boring already. If it was mafkir, the water was mafkir, the sponge of water, it doesn't want to recycle them. Ben Rav, Ben Shmuel, Hainu Bo. Both Rav and Shmuel would agree that's Bo, of course, because it's hefker. Let the Gemara tell us the comparison. A bow right from the start is just pure nezek from the beginning of its making, and it's your money, and you're supposed to guard it. Haninami. The paddle is just like what? Just like a bow. It's made just for nezek. From the first second in the street, there's absolutely no use for it except for damaging people. It's your money. So what's the story? Of course, this is just a clear, pure bow, not a combination of nobody and nobody. You want to tell me he wasn't mafkirid? Again, the same story. The Shmuel doesn't care. Shmuel says all types of nezikin in the street that are stationary are learned from bow. If so, that's pure bow. Whether it's hefker or not, Shmuel doesn't care. Whether you own it or you disown it or you shmimon it, I don't care. It's just regular bow. Hainu bow. If so, what's the story? You're talking here about a bow. Nothing to do with bow and someone. Who's a combination? Who's the story? And says the Gemara, that's a bigger chiddush than before. That's a new story. Really, he was mafkir. This bow is really not his because he did the sponja, finished the sponja, shrach. Now there's a sponja puddle in the street, not his sponja. However, it's different to bow. Why? There's a huge difference. What did we say about putting sewage in the street in the Wintner? Are you allowed to? Yes. As opposed to bow, you're not allowed to dig a bow ever, summer, winter, spring, or fall, or autumn. Whichever one, fall or autumn, you can't dig a bore in the street. It's just illegal thing to do right from the start. And therefore, it's not like the nice puddle of sponja or biyuv in the middle of the street, because that was with permission from the area. Okay? And therefore, it's not the same. I would have said, wait a second. If that's permitted, then I don't have, you allowed me to do it. So that's not like, well, maybe I don't have to pay. Then let's flip the page. Shor yochiach. We promised you a combination. Here you got a combination. Mr. Shor, he surely helps us. Excuse my stupid puns today. I'm in the mood. Shor yochiach. Yeah, because Shor, I have a permission to take him to the street. I'm allowed to walk with him ashore in the street. That's very normal and nice. For some people, it's a dog. For me, it's a shor. In a society where shvarim are commonplace, and I walk with my shor in the street, absolutely fine to do that. And yet, if the shore damaged, I have to pay. If it's Keren, if it starts goring, then I have to pay. You're allowed to be with your shore in the street, but if anything happens in the Keren department, you have to pay. It's not, yeah. So the shore proves to you that sometimes you're allowed to do something, but if the outcome's bad, you got to pay for it, baby. Can you learn from shore only? Maybe now we should learn from shore straight, only shore, exclusively from shore. Let's learn the halacha of the puddle in the street in the winter. Says the Gemara, on the other hand, shore is not like the puddle. A shore walks around. A shore is a walking thing, while the puddle does not walk anywhere. It stays in one place. Bo tochiach, and Bo comes to the rescue. Bo and shore together. Bo proves to you, Bo is stationary, is static, just like my puddle is static. The Chazadin, Mazel Tov, a beautiful shidduch between Bo and Shor. Yet again, they're doing a lot of shidduch in Bo and Shor. Yeah, Chassan and Gutnik. Bo and Shor, Yochiach, the what? Between them comes another child called the puddle, the biyuv, the golfin, Naroisein, the Bimois Hagishomim, where on one hand it's with permission like Shor, but the way it acts, so to speak, is like Bo. And therefore, you have to pay. At the end of the day, for sure you have to pay. Okay? Next, please. Ravina Omar. Ravina finds another Vava Madbeis. Whoa, we're doing very well. Ravina Omar, futuristic we are. Ravina says, I'll find you another combination, which is a Mishnah at the end of Baba Metzia. It says there in the Mishnah, a person had a wall in his own wall, or let's say a wall dividing between his garden and the street, or he had a tree in his domain. Unexpectedly, I repeat, unexpectedly, it fell into the street. I had no idea it's going to happen. It was nice and safe, and the security, whatever safety measures were taken, and it fell. I'm potter from paying whichever way the damage was done. I'm potter because I'm honest. I really didn't expect it if that was the story. Potter malashalim, you potter. Nosnul is man lokuts. However, let's say the authorities noticed that this is a hazard for the public, as Teretz calls it. I can see the guys, they walked by your house and they saw that your fence, your wall is a bit shaky, and they gave you a nice red letter, like today, and they say you have 30 days, let's say, to lokutz esailan, to see the tree is dangerous, the lister sakoisel, Mr. So-and-so, owner of Lachish, I don't know, 405, yeah, you have what? You have 30 days, mister, to cut your tree because it's a public hazard. Yeah, it's hazardous. Or the wall, you got to somehow deal with your wall, carefully, yeah, dismantle the wall, break the wall. That shouldn't be here. And then what happened? Can you imagine? He didn't do it right away. Surprisingly, it would never happen in Israel, but the person didn't listen to the area right that second. What happened next? The noflu, and it fell. Just like the area predicted, the thing fell, the wall or the tree, they fell, boom, into the street. So now, does he have to pay? Depends. B'toich hazman veheziku potu. If they fell within 30 days, it's still potu. If the area gave me 30 days, and they have their people, their engineers, the authority allowed me, and the authorities in this could have a lot of halachic power, because that's minhag hamakom, they're in charge, they're the ones, whatever, dina dir ya dina. In other words, if they decided that within 30 days they can do it, and it fell after 15 days, I'm potter. Yeah, I was still allowed to have it. I'm potter if anything happened, maybe within Shemayim not, I'm talking within Odom. Lachar zman chayev. Oh. But let's say it fell on the 31st day. I had 30 days and I kept saying, Maniana, Maniana. I said, tomorrow I'm going to do it. And then what? On the 31st day it fell. I'm chayiv. That was past the red date, past the due date, so to speak, expiry date. And therefore, I'm chayiv. I'm being super negligent. The question is, that makes sense so far, but the question again, Heichidami, what exactly happened? How did this tree or the bricks from the wall, how did it damage? And which Av does it belong to? Id Afkiro, if it fell into the street and you're mafkir the tree, mafkir the bricks, then again, the same old story. Ben Rab, Ben L'Shmuel, Hanubo, right? If something which does not belong to me, was left in the street, boom, people tripped into it, yalla, it's bow. Maishna, bow, dezeko motsui, ishmeo solecho. A bow is commonly damaging because a bow, it happens a lot, people trip over it, and it's my responsibility. Aninami, the tree and the wall, same thing. Same thing. And if you still maintain the ownership over the tree or the bricks, according to Shmuel, that says that even non-hefker items are the same as hefker. So what's the story? Answers the Gemara, no, there is one quirk over here. There's one difference between this case and the bow. What's the difference? Really, he was mafkir, don't worry. It would have been a classical bow because it's in the street now and it was mafkir, okay? However, it's not exactly 100% like bow. We found a difference, a nuance. When I placed the bow in the street, either a duggy bow or I very smartly, responsibly took a stone and placed it in the street, from the very first second that it existed in the public domain, it's just an ezek. My involvement in it, I want to be more meduyak, once I got involved in either digging or placing, my responsibility from the moment I enter the picture as a digger or placing some, or the placer, the one who places it in the wrong place, it's nezek right from the start. However, Tomer Behani, you may claim that those things are different. Why? She'en tchilas asiyos and lenezek. They are not exactly right away from the creation. They are not made for nezek. Says Rashi, when I built my wall, that's where I first got involved. When I planted the tree, it was so nice. A tree is not a damage. I have a nice tree, or I have a nice wall. They're beautiful. All the tourists are taking pictures. It's all very nice. It's giving shade and fruit, and the wall is so nice. What's the problem? It's not right. It's not like from its first inception something bad and mazik. And therefore, maybe I'm not chayiv, because later on it fell. It's something that happened later on in life. Bow, right from the start, the bow that you dig, right from the start is nezik. Here, no, when I created bow, that's nezik. When I created the tree, I didn't create it. When I planted the tree, when I built a wall, that's not nezek, so it's not exactly like bow. Shor yochiach. Shor again comes to the rescue. Shor is like the catch-all. Shor is always like the general nezek. Shor yochiach. Why? Because Shor, when he was born, so sweet. The Shor was started off as a beautiful calf before it started going off the derech. Was such a nice boy. When he was a cute little kafale. And therefore, what? It starts nice. Nothing is mazik right from the start, and yet you're chayiv when the Shor is goring or they're walking. And again, you'll say, on the other hand, Shor alone can definitely cannot be the father, so to speak, of this tree that people trip all over, because Shor is walking and mobile while the tree and this are static. That's when it's Mr. Bo, the other father. The bow will prove the point that the bow, even though it's static, last case. So we found a few combinations. What did we find? We found the Avno Sakino Masoi, the bundle that was left. Where? You'll have to know it by heart for the test tomorrow. Joking. The one that was left on the roof and the wind took it down. It's a combination of Aish and bow, right? Then we have bow Misgalgel. We have the bow where I placed in one place, I put it, and it ended up in a different place. So I'm not the sole creator, and yet it's bow and show. Then we had what? The sewage and the sponja that fly to the street, but it was done with permission. So it's bow with permission. They're all boris with a quirk. They're all boy with a problem. They're not 100% pure bow. A bow with permission may not be a bow. So show comes to the rescue. It's also with permission and Yochayev. And the last but not least is the Koisel Va'ilan Shenaflu, my wall, my tree that fell into the street. But they started off well. I planted them for a good reason. And I didn't place them in the street, by the way. They fell there. I did something good and it just fell. But because I'm responsible, I should have known better, I'm chayiv. But it's a combination of bow and show. We're in the two dots. Vav Amud Beis, Bava Kama. In the two dots, and we're hearing now the gallery. Shehizik Chayav Amazik is the next line, but now we're up to some questions and commercials. Yes. Lose weight now. Right. Shehizik Chayav Amazik. We're in the two dots. Vav Amud Beis. The two dots are about a quarter down the page. Shehizik Chayav Amazik. The question here now is purely grammatical question. Chayav Hamazik. Why did the Mishnah say Chayav Hamazik? Chayav Hamazik mi ba'alei. The proper word is chayav, not chav. Chayav, owes or has to, yeah? Chayav. Amav Yuda, Omarav, Haitana Yerushalmiyu. The Tana is Yerushalmi, the Tana is Yerushalmer. The Tana was written where? In Eretz Yisrael, not in Lakewood, not in Bovel. And the Tana talks by Loshen Eretz Yisrael. The Tani Lishna Klila. The Tana talks in a shorter language. Klila is like light and fast. In other words, the Mishnah is written in a fast forward way and shorter words. So instead of chayav, they write chav. You should know the Mishnah is written in Eretz Yisrael, and that has a lot of he takes a lot of effect on halachas. For example, in Gittin, it assumes that people are bnei Torah. The Tana talks in Eretz Yisrael where people are more bnei Torah than in Chutz La'aretz. And therefore, at the beginning, there's a sugya, or in Shabbos, it says in the 39 Avos Malacha, the Tana mentions plowing sowing before plowing. Doesn't make sense. You first plow and then you sow. Says the Gemara, no, the Tana is an Israeli, and in Eretz Yisrael, the land is harder than in Bovel, so you have to plow, plant, and plow again. You plow once, you put in the seeds, but then it doesn't just sink into the butter soft ground by itself, like in Holland, maybe, I don't know. You have to plow again because the land is hard. And therefore, the Tana always has an Israeli mindset. Eretz Yisrael Dika. That's one of the examples that the style of language is Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalmi, and it's shorter. Yes, you plow. Then you put in the seeds, and then again you plow again to turn the ground over, to turn over the ground and allow them to sink in. It's really not. L'shalem teshlumei nezek. I have to pretend that I'm nice because I'm online. L'shalem teshlumei nezek continues the Gemara. Yeah. L'shalem teshlumei nezek. I mean, you can look in Shabbos Daf and Gimel Amud Beis at your free time. Gimel Amud Beis. It's the first question of the Gemara at the top of Amud Beis. Yeah. Look there and you'll find fun. Tanu abonon. Now we finally come to a whole different topic. Meitav Sadeh u'meitav Kama Yeshalem. What did we say at the end of the Mishnah? You got to pay. When you have to pay, because of your show, bo, ma, ve'ever, what kind of payment you have to give? Let's say you're out of cash, but you have a few apartments and flats in different places in Eretz Yisrael. You have one in Hicktown, in whatever, Garbageville. You have one in the middle, let's say Shemesh, and you have one in, I don't know, in Savion. You know where Savion is? Yeah, you have one. Yeah, in other words, you have all kinds of houses, of apartments, of whatever. Which one do you have to give the person? The best. The best of the best. You got to give the best. Why? Because the Bible says, Meitav Sadeh u'meitav Kamo Yeshalem. When it talks about paying, it says Meitav, the best of the land, the best of your vineyards. You got to pay with that. Now comes a big machloikes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva on how to define that. And soon you have to make a complete switch in your minds when it comes to Rabbi Shmuel. Meitav Sadeh shel Nizak, or Meitav Kamo shel Nizak, Divrei Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel says you got to pay for the Nizaks, for the damaged party. You have to pay his best field. That's what Bishmael says. What that means, we're going to see soon. But it sounds like a very, very strange statement. Wait. Comes Rabbi Akiva, that's another Tana. Rabbi Akiva oimer loy ba'kosuv el ligvas lenezokin mina idis. No, says Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is a good old, what you know all the time. No, the only thing the pasuk comes to tell me is not that I have to pay more. I just got to pay nezikin from the idit. Idit means the best. Yeah, from my house in Savion, not from my apartment in Shemesh or in Daimona. The kal v'chomer lehekdesh, and all the more so for hekdesh. Those two words, kal v'chomer lehekdesh, says Rashi, will be discussed later on. We won't see them today. That's a different story. Let's now go back to Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara is surprised. What did Rabbi Shmuel say? What? Rabbi Shmuel said that if I damage the person, the guy, the Nizak, let's call him the very original name, Reuven. I damaged Reuven's land. My cow, the Pasuk, by the way, talks about a cow or any other animal that went into his field and ate, right? Or walked all over. Okay. Rabbi Shmuel, are you telling me I always have to pay him like his best field? What exactly do you mean? Ochel shmeina, mishalem shmeina. I understand. What do you mean? If let's say my animal went into Reuven's field, and Reuven has all kinds of arugot, of patches in his field. Yeah, one of them he has class A plus golden star deluxe tomatoes that we don't see in the Israeli market because it goes for export, right? And he has in between, and then he has one aruga garbage. He doesn't sell it anywhere, maybe to some villages, maybe to his own family, A, B, and C. If my animal ate the best of the best, of course I have to pay for the best. Ochel k'chusha mishalem shmeina. But if I ate the class C tomatoes, I have to pay as if my animal ate the best ones? Excuse me, are you in Sodom? What kind of thing is that? Now, the Tosfos says a very brilliant thing, very, very brilliant. Says Tosfos, maybe knas. Maybe there's a knas. Sometimes we see halacha can get harsh. I stole only 100 shekels, I have to pay 200. It's a knas. Maybe here too, I'm giving you Tosfos from the side. Maybe here too, I ate class C and I have to pay like A because it's a knas. Says Tosfos doesn't make sense because that's what the Gemara says. If I ate class A, I have to pay class A. Why? Knas has to always be consistent. If you always say there's an addition, so when I ate class A, I should also pay more money. So that's not inconsistent. Make up your mind. That now it's very, very nice. So the Gemara is using extra lashon. When I ate the best, I pay for the best only. And when I ate the worst, I have to pay like the best. But that's complete jungle. These are not flower patches. That's an African jungle. What's going on here? Right? Make up your mind. Doesn't make sense. And of course, that's not Pshat in Rabbi Shmuel. The story is different. The line starts with the word hacha. We are, I think, more or less in the middle of the page. What's the story over here? He ate, he or she or they, my cutesy little bull ate one aruga, one vegetable patch within the arugos. The guy has 30 different patches in his field. And we don't know. There are no clear records. We don't remember. We can't realize exactly. I don't know. That one in the middle, nobody seems to remember. Yeah, it was in the middle of the whole craze. The animal stepped in. I don't have clear photographs of everything. It's a new farmer. Nobody honestly remembers if the animal ate the best or the worst or anything. We don't know. The Mishalem Shmeina. So in this case, in case of doubt, we're being harsh on him and we say pay for the fat one, pay for the best one, pay for it. Yeah, we know it was, let's say, 2 squares meter, let's say 2 meters square, and we don't know the quality. We know the quality can range between 5,000 and 1,000. Let's say you pay 5,000 and not 1,000. Go for the worst. In case of doubt, go for the. Don't do without. Pay for the most. Pay for the best. Oh, remember Basra? Remember the rule that kept appearing about 5 times every day? There's a rule that says Hamotzi mechavero min haaretz. Hamotzi mechavero olav. Very good. And that's a question. Rabbi challenges what we just heard. It doesn't make sense. Had we known that he ate the worst one, the thin one, the worst one, he would have paid for the thin one, for the bad one, for the class C one. If so, hashta the loyadina the krusha ochal shmena ochal. Now hashta loyadina, we don't know whether he ate the krusha, the bad one or the good one. Ochal mishalem shmena. You want to tell me if it's going to pay for the fat one, for the best one? Amoitzi together. Amoitzi mechaver all over Raya. My teacher from Kita Dalit is coming back. This is Kita Dalit stuff. What are you telling me here? You're telling me that if we don't know whether it was worst or the best, of course I pay for the worst because you want to take out money from me. And you have no raya, you have no proof that my animal ate the best, right? So we assume it ate the worst, if that's whatever was within the range. Therefore we'll come to another answer. And that's the final answer. That's the final answer. It's a whole different story. We're talking here about what kind of land you pay with. Keep going. The story is a very interesting case, but could be very, very realistic. Kigon shoyso idis the nizak. Listen carefully. The nizak, the damaged party, he also has, let's say, 3 different lands all over Israel. And let's say the mazik, keziburis the mazik. His worst land, the nizak's best land is like the mazik's worst land. They both live in Shemesh. And let's say he damaged the apartment in Shemesh or something, yeah? So now, the guy who's nizak, his best land is Shemesh. The other ones are some land in the Negev and another one in Sinai. I don't know, much worse. Nothing can grow there, yeah? For him, Shemesh is the best, yeah? The mazik, for him, Shemesh is the worst, yeah? Mapitom. Shemesh for him is a lower rung in his ladder. He has one in Beverly Hills. No, Chutzatz is not worth. He has one in the Golan and he has one in, I don't know, better places, yeah? In Savion. He has better places. And they meet in the middle, yeah? In other words, the nizak's best is a mazik's worst. Aha. That's a machlokes of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Shmuel sovar but the nizak sheiminan. Rabbi Shmuel says you have to pay him like his best, even though it's yours, your worst. Pay him a Shemesh land, because for him, in his standards, that's his best. And that's what Rabbi Shmuel meant. You pay like the best of the nizak. Nothing to do with flower patches or patch, a patch, a patch, give it a patch. Nothing to do with anything. It's to do with one thing. The nizak's best. When I know the Torah says that I have to pay with the best. I know who's best, my best or his best. My super fancy in Mamila apartment, or his best, which is regular Shemesh in the Kirach Haredi. Yeah, we pay with his best, his standards. That's what the Torah says. Nizak. Mashein ken Rabbi Akiva savar. Rabbi Akiva says nish. But the mazik sheiminan. Rabbi Akiva says no, but the mazik sheiminan. We pay him with the mazik's best land. You got to pay him with your fancy, super fancy apartment in Rechavi and Yerushalayim, which is your fanciest one, and not with Shemesh, which is your worst one. Your standard should be yours and not his. We tell the mazik, according to Rabbi Akiva. That machlokes will Mirz Hashem elaborate on in the morrow. Mirz Hashem tomorrow Wednesday. Mirz Hashem will have a terrific shiur B'ezrat Hashem. And okay, but that's machlokes. Okay, they meet in the middle. His worst and his best. Rabbi Akiva says the mazik's best, and Rabbi Shmuel says the nizak's best. Okay, and that how, why, what we'll see tomorrow. Mirz Hashem. Questions and comments here. Thank you. Have a great day. Atzlocha Rabba. Thank you.